under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated.
Amen.
This is the fiscal year 2026 budget work session. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes and the agenda is approved. Any public comment? So many people and so little comments. So. Forward to the division superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. When we go through this budget work session, I've got an agenda on the second page there. Just some general remarks, some historical data, give you a status of the state and local budgets, federal budget, expenditure priorities, budget summary, and then our scheduled approval for our budget or spending plan that we have to have to the Board of Supervisors by March the 31st is scheduled to be March the 25th at 5:30. The first item I've got is kind of a breakdown of the insurance fund over the last 6 years. Wanted you all to see, I know some people were upset last year when we raised insurance rates, but if you look at that page, you will see that expenditures ran more than revenue during the 2019-2020 school year, the 2020-2021 school year, 21-22, 22-23, and last year, I want to say thank you to Ms. Belcher and everybody that helped. We actually made $30,000 in the insurance fund last year. So this year, I think we've done a better job of informing our employees, and you can see right now, revenue is ahead of expenditures quite a bit on the insurance fund. With that being said, I think we have an opportunity to lower insurance rates this year on the employee and the employer side. I think people have done a better job with insurance, so when we have our full budget for the March 25th meeting, part of that will be to lower insurance rates. We're looking somewhere around $15 a month for both the employee and the employer. So not a lot, but enough to, I think that people will appreciate that we're putting money back in their pocket.
Yes. If that does pass, make sure and let them know it, just because they've been careful.
Well, I think Ms. Belcher and Karen, I think some of us have talked that we don't want them to get in the shape that we get back the way we were. We've got to remind everybody that they've got to be good stewards of the insurance fund. So we didn't want to go too far the other way, so we thought just a little bit would help, and I think people would be appreciative, and maybe we can continue that trend.
Amen.
The next page is not as good news, not as much good news. Cafeteria fund, you can tell it's been all over the place. 2019, 2020, it lost money. 2020, 2021, the COVID year, it made money, and I think most of you will remember that most employees in the school system, we were delivering meals to everybody everywhere. So our participation was up because we were out delivering the meals. We went to people's homes, we made sure that everyone was fed, so we did well that year. The next year would have been one of the years that we were kind of off and on again. Sometimes we were at school, sometimes we wasn't at school. We made a little money that year in the cafeteria, but since then, the cafeteria has been going the wrong direction. We think we have a plan to fix this. We've had a lady from the State Department that come down and did an audit. She said that one problem we have is we're overstaffed. As people retire, as people resign, we need to look at reducing some of the numbers at some of the schools in the cafeteria. So that's...
Can I ask you something? I'm back in the 50s again. When we was in school, the kids, served and everything. Is that something that's...
I could look into it. I don't know of anybody that does that now, Gary, but I could look into it as far as we could have maybe some student workers.
I mean, they look forward to it. The kids look forward, they got out a little bit early, went there and helped get things ready and everything. And I know a lot of kids that I've grown up with and stuff, they kind of look forward to doing that, helping out in the cafeteria and stuff. I don't know if that's possible or not.
we can look into it, and I can check and see if that's an option. Another option that she said is that we're doing too much heat and serve items. She said you need to go back to scratch cooking. She said it is convenient to buy stuff that you can just open, heat it up, and serve it, but it's also very expensive. She said, you know, it's cheaper to buy the ingredients and actually cook stuff, and that's another way we could save money. And then she said that we had a pretty good stockpile of USDA goods that we needed to use before we ordered supplies. So we have shared that with Mr. Welch and everyone in the cafeteria program. But I may be asking you all, as we've got some retirees too that signal that they're going to retire this year, and we may not be looking at replacing all of those. And there is a meals per labor hour that they give us, that there's a area that you're supposed to be within, and we're below that in every school. There are some unique situations. Elydale and St. Charles, I think by the numbers, you should only have one person in the cafeteria. You can't run a cafeteria with one person that's cooking, serving, and doing it all. So we know that there's going to be some areas that we can't get there, but others we might be able to. So just want to give you a heads up on that with the budget. General fund, I just wanted you to look at that number. We've had carryover the last several years, and I think that's shown in that graph. As you all know, we've got, this year it looks like we've got more revenue than we do expenditures, but I think you all have made an offer on the tennis courts with the Board of Supervisors. That would change that expenditure number. If they accept that, that would put that up quite a bit. So just wanted to give you an idea on those three funds. The next, the state and local budget status. I gave you a copy of the three budgets that we've had. The biennial budget, which would be the budget if there was no changes, but I think we all know there's going to be some changes. The governor budget, which was produced in December, that number's there with the local, state, and total. And then the General Assembly did approve a budget in February, and that budget is lying on the governor's desk. I don't know whether he's going to sign it or send it back to the General Assembly, but that number is there as well. Final budget, I think, will be tweaked a little bit. I mean, it's not typical that the governor just signs it, but he may. We don't know yet. So, and then the local budget will depend a lot on the Board of Supervisors and what they do. I'll talk about that here in just a second, but federal budget, I think all of you have been watching the news. Prior to COVID, there was not a lot of fluctuation in the federal budget. Ms. Willis and everyone that's involved with those, you would have a little tweak with that. It'd go up or down just a little every year. Then when COVID hit, they threw a lot of money, pandemic funding at it, and that's all gone. And then, as you know, I think President Trump sent about half of the Department of Education to the House. So the future of federal funding, I think, is a lot up in the air. Hopefully we'll get some definitive answers in the near future, but I can't predict what's going to happen with a lot of the federal funding. These would be our expenditure priorities, and if you all want to add anything, please tell us. I think priority number one is salaries for our staff. I don't know that we can be at the same level as Wise County or Scott County, but I think we can be competitive. If we're close to those numbers, I think our people would stay here and work here in Lee County. So our first priority would be salaries, which I think if we get all the money that we're going to ask for from the Board of Supervisors and the state, I think we can give the state's going to give enough with compensation supplement to give at least a 3% average, and I think we can do a little better than that. Number two would be a number of capital projects, and these are not in any specific order, but paving, I know we did some paving projects last year at Lehigh and some places, but I think if you've been to some of the schools, we could use some paving in some of those areas that have the huge potholes and that. Windows, I think we all know we could use some windows in a lot of our buildings, but some things we can do are take a little time and a little money, but can make a big difference. I think I see Ms. Gunter back there, but Ms. Gunter, can you comment? I know the other day at Pennington, we sent maintenance out there and they called around a lot of your windows, and I think you said it made a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Just talking in the holes, you can't, it absolutely helps the air coming in and out. I couldn't believe the teachers comment. They didn't even know that those holes had been filled because they weren't there. And when they came back, they commented on the difference. And they didn't even know it did nothing until they came back. So it made that much of a difference and they noticed.
So, I mean, we might not be able to afford new windows, but I think there's some things that we can do to help. I think we did that on a snow day, so when they came back for a pleasant surprise. HVAC, I think we need to make sure that, we keep those units up and running. Let's see, Thomas Walker's gym, Lehigh's gym, St. Charles gym, Dryden gym, and Elk Knob gym all have units now that can air condition the gyms. We have purchased units to put in all of the gyms. Those are at the maintenance shop, so we need to get those in there this summer. And we've been doing other things. I think the chiller went down at the vocational school. We've been doing individual units because a new chiller would have been, I think, $250,000, and you would only have a new part on the top. That doesn't include everything else, so we thought it was better to go a different route with it. Plumbing is something that we really need to think about. We've got buildings that were built in 1937 at St. Charles, 1939 at Dryden. We need to look at replacing some of that plumbing, and that would be a pretty big capital improvement project. And while we have replaced a number of our roofs, let's see, the new addition at Rose Hill, the new addition at Elk Knob, the new addition at Dryden, those roofs are things we need to keep in our mind that I think they're all out of warranty. They still have a little bit of life left, but we need to keep in mind that those roofs will be coming up for replacement in the near future.
What is that life, 20 years?
I think some of those roofs only had a 15-year warranty, but we had some roofs that we got, Ms. Belcher helped me, 35 plus years out of. They said we stretched the life of some roofs more than most people had, but I think you all know what the end result of that was. We had buckets in some classrooms, so there's a time we need to replace a roof, and we need to do that before we get back to the buckets. Any other priorities that you all have?
I was told it's a need to have a buffing coat put on Lehigh and Thomas Walker gym floors to take care of it. This would help if it was done yearly.
And then another thing about the Thomas Walker floor, that floor is a parquet floor, and some of those parquets have came up. We have talked to Fincham Flooring, and they said they can fix it and extend the life of that gym floor. I want to think, don't hold me to this, but I want to say $25,000 to $30,000 to fix it and refinish it. A new one, $150,000. So I think that's something we need to look at doing. I think we had Fincham come and do Jonesville's last year. They do a real professional job, make those gym floors look good and last. So I think that's something we need to look at with the gym floors that we've replaced and fixed in the past. So I'll make a note of that. Anything else that you all?
Sidewalk at Pink Middle.
I think Ms. Belcher's getting a quote on that.
He's coming tomorrow with your quote.
And then, we didn't know how much paving is going to cost, so we have called some pavers and asked them to come and give quotes. I think they were at Jonesville the other day. I think they were at Pennington the other day. I don't know how much that's going to cost. It's not a new paving job. It's a top coat in most cases, but until we get those quotes, I'm not sure how much that's going to run. So we went ahead and contacted them about getting some quotes on that. Anything else? So budget summary, we're waiting on the final numbers from the state, but Ms. Belcher and I will have you all the budget for the approval on March the 25th. We may have to go back and adjust that if they tweak those numbers at the state level. I will tell you that I talked to Mr. Wright at the county administrator's office. He asked about the possibility of us getting back together for another budget workshop with the Board of Supervisors. I'm not opposed. I would need two of you all to be willing to do that. I think they have a board meeting next Tuesday. My understanding is that the tennis courts would be on the agenda for that board meeting, so we might know something about that after that, but putting that out there that they've asked that we have another budget workshop.
Before or after the meeting, Mr. Dean?
I would think after, because the only thing before would be tomorrow or Monday, and I don't think we can do it that fast. So if you're interested, let me know, and we'll see if we can't work on some dates for that. But that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Do we have any board comments? I'll just welcome Lehigh Representative Maya H. Berea and the Thomas Walker Representative Ian Sanford to the meeting, to the board, and look forward to having you all serve with us over the next few months. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
We are adjourned. We'll come back for the regular meeting in a second.